Hi Beatriz, how are you doing?
Hi, Anna. I'm very fine. How are you?
I'm good, I'm good. It's always such a pleasure to see you. Thank you so much for taking the time today to chat with us about this topic that is very important to me and I know is very important to you. And I know you're very busy, so we really appreciate it.
No, sure. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely. So Beatrice, before we dive into the nitty-gritty, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Thanks, Anna. My name is Beatriz Carmona. I'm actually from Venezuela. I actually and currently live in Colombia. I am the happy mother of two extraordinary daughters. One of them just graduated from architecture
Oh,
this
beautiful.
week, so I'm celebrating actually. Yeah.
Great.
And
That's fantastic.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
thank you. I'm very very proud. Very proud week for me. So I studied electronics engineering in Venezuela, and when I graduated, I started working in consulting, and I actually loved the consulting type of work. You know, understanding the client's issues, proposing solutions for those clients' issues, and actually implementing those, leveraging technology. So that was, I fell in love with it with consulting type of work. I grew within the company, learning every day. I discovered the magic of learning from everyone, regardless of gender, race, age. So it was
Mhm.
a very cool career within consulting. I actually made it to the managing director or partner
Oh
role
wow.
within the company, working in different countries in Latin America. And then I retired from my original company, and I dedicated myself to being part of boards of
Okay.
directors of companies in Colombia, creating awareness of the need to transform the businesses in order to stay competitive. So
Wow.
that I did for around 3 years, and I am currently back in my second phase of consulting life.
Okay.
Within EY, leading the technology consulting group for EY in the Latin America North region that includes from Mexico to Peru. So that's me. And in my free time, I love to play tennis and I love to travel to different places with my two wonderful daughters.
One of them being an architect. That's fantastic. That's quite the career. That's fantastic. Thanks for sharing that, Beatrice. And so throughout all those steps, throughout the different companies, the different types of roles that you were in, what were the ways that you felt you were supported as a woman throughout your career?
Yeah. And so I have to say that I have been fortunate enough to have been supported
Hmm.
through my whole career as a woman, as a human being, and as a
Hmm.
woman. I had the chance of being mentored by extraordinary women when I was starting my career within the company in consulting. So I think there are maybe a couple of life events that I can share where I
Hmm.
specifically felt um, a lot of support from the company and from my leaders. And
Okay.
one of them was when I was actually promoted to the partner role, the managing director role of my company, which is
Okay.
the highest level within the company, when I was pregnant. So it was great to see that the company
Hmm.
understood that I was ready for the promotion, that I had, that I had the skills, and I did have the performance and the contribution to the company, and that, being pregnant was not an issue for actually achieving that promotion. So that I'm eternally grateful for that chance. And there was a second event in my life when I had my second daughter, and I was
Hmm.
assigned to a project outside of my country, of my home country. And I actually traveled on Mondays very early in the morning, and I arrived home Fridays very late at night. My
Hmm.
second daughter was a year and a half, probably. and that was, I actually managed that for maybe 4 or 5 months, but there were some signs that I started reading from my daughter. She was very small, but she sent some messages,
Mhm.
and I was able to read those messages, and I realized that I had to change something.
Mhm.
And at that moment, I said, okay, I have to change something, but I want to still be able to participate in the project and have a role in the project. And I don't want to create a trouble for the client or for the company. So I made up a solution.
Mhm.
I thought of a way that I could be back at home, that I would be more physically at home. And I'm talking about, 15 years ago. This
Mhm.
was 15 years ago. So remote work was not so,
Didn't exist.
common as it is today.
Mhm.
So, but I came up with the solution that I escalated to my leaders and to the company and to the client, and in order to be at the project but not be physically there all the time. And both the company, the client, and my leaders supported me on this, and we were able to find a solution for this. So that was a time that I'm also grateful that I didn't just
Mhm.
give up or resign, which could have been a solution.
Mhm.
Uh, but I knew that I had to be home, and I found a solution that would work for everyone.
Wow, thank I see. Well, away for so long from your family, especially a young daughter, that must have been really tough. Would you mind delving into a bit more details about the dilemma you felt? As on one hand, you were part of an exciting project, and you mentioned at the beginning you loved traveling and you were outside, and the other, you were away from your family and away from home.
Yeah, it was difficult. We as women, we try to be perfect at
Mhm.
everything. But at that time, I realized, and I did have a lot of support from my family, from my
Mhm.
husband, from my oldest daughter, to manage this situation. And I thought I could do it. And in
Mhm.
fact, I could do it for maybe 3 months. But there was a point in time that I knew that I had to change
Yeah.
something, and I knew that I would not be, sufficiently fulfilled in every role if I didn't do something about it. So
Mhm.
that's why I raised my hand. I have always had the chance, and this is one of my main advice for everyone. I Raise your hands. You don't have
Mhm.
to be perfect at everything, and
Mhm.
there are circumstances in life where one has to prioritize, and that's what I did. And unfortunately, it came out well for everybody. So
That's beautifully put. I think a lot of women can relate to that, wanting to be perfect, the perfect worker, the perfect boss, the perfect mother, and so forth. Thank you for sharing those really touching examples. So let me also ask you this, Beatrice. I'll turn it around. How about yourself on your end? Have you personally worked to support women in your organization or career in other part in your life? And if so, what were they? What were those
yeah,
ways?
sure. And this is something that's very important for you to ask, because I really believe in the importance of having support during our
Hmm.
professional lives. And for us women, it is tough. There are key milestones in our lives, and having the right support is very important. I can
Hmm.
I can give you maybe a couple of examples of things that I have done
Hmm.
in my career to help others, and one of them is, I was at one point in my career, I was asked to close the Venezuelan office of the company I used to work for. That was not a very happy task to
Hmm.
execute, but at that time, I knew that I had to do this in a very aligned way with my values and with the values of the company. So at that time, I took the challenge of finding an alternative and an option for all these people that were working in the Venezuelan operations in other parts of the world. And I did this for both women and men. I said I have to do something for these people, and today with great pride I can share that I was able to sit with everyone that was at the company at that time, both women and men, and provide an option to relocate within the company, but to another country so they could continue their careers with the company. And as of today, I still find women and men that come to me and remind me of the impact that action had on their lives and those of the families. So that was one time that I believe that I supported not only women but also men. And then
Mm-hmm.
I relocated to Colombia myself as part of that process.
Mm-hmm.
And I picked a couple of women at the company that I saw with a very high potential, uh, and I got to know them, to know their strengths, their areas to improve, and I took charge in providing them with the right opportunities, with the right jobs, with the right assignments in projects, so they could leverage their strengths and shine.
Mm-hmm.
And today I can say that one of them was actually one of the first women managing directors in the company in Latin America. And today, many years later, I can say that also I have a very strong friendship with her that goes way beyond the formal mentor or coach role. So those are a couple of examples of things that I did for women at the company. And today at EY, I'm leading the technology consulting group. And as you know, as many people know, technology is an area where there's the proportion of women is not very high.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And it's a big challenge. And as a matter of fact, in the graduation of my daughter this week, I noticed that even though she graduated in architecture, the event also included the systems engineering
Mm-hmm.
areas, and of 64 people that got graduated, only 7 were women. So
Oh wow, that's a
we
big,
have a
that's a
you
big
have a
gap.
big challenge there, and that starts with studying and being interested in the career.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm currently very involved in different initiatives in the company, so we can actually strive to make women in this area succeed and grow within the company. So I'm personally involved in different initiatives, panels, and solutions that we have in order to help the women succeed in the technology area.
Okay. All right. That's quite a lot of projects you had going on. I want to go back to I believe it was your second point. I found something particularly interesting about that when you were discussing how you coached these women, the ones that you saw a lot of potential in. Because a lot of times me when I hear or are involved in coaching programs, those programs really focus on teaching hard or soft skills, but you were more so focusing on the mindsets of these people, of these women, and how to teach them to get themselves the right opportunities to be able to showcase their skill set rather than focusing on getting them that skill set. So I find that particularly unique. And I want to ask you, Beatrice, why was this the way that you went about it in the coaching program you did, and why do you think that's particularly that one was applicable to women?
Yeah, and I think that we again, I mentioned
Hmm.
before that I think
Goes back
we
to
as
that.
women are very, very, we strive to be perfect at
Hmm.
everything, and sometimes we don't realize the strengths that we
Hmm.
have, and that personally happened to me when I was younger in my career. So I thought that we don't have to build special skills in people. We,
Mhm.
of course, that
Of
is
course.
important, and we're always learning and always acquiring new skills. But if we can showcase what we have, what we are, what our strengths are, I think that everything after that
Mhm.
is easier for women. So I thought that putting the right people at the right place in the right excitement and providing the opportunity, it's yours. Your career is yours to build, but we can certainly help by putting you in the right place. And sometimes we don't speak up to
Mhm.
ask for that opportunity.
Mhm.
um, so from my personal experience, I learned that maybe helping these women be in the right assignment, that would be more than enough for them to
Mhm.
shine, and not trying to build new skills on them.
Oh, yeah, I think we can all really resonate in this. Not only being confident in our skills, but being confident enough to sometimes make a mistake. Sometimes speak up, even if you're not 100% sure you know 100% of the answer. So
That's right.
absolutely. And on that note, you touched on that briefly, but dig into that a little more. That confidence, that speaking up, getting yourself the right opportunities. That's both a skill and an art that clearly when we hear you speak and we see your career path, that's an art that you've become an expert in. And you mentioned that you remember having to learn this. Is this Could you delve into a little bit more on how you remember having to develop this skill at the beginning of your career?
Sure, and in fact, when I started my career, I was a pretty
Hmm.
introvert and shy
Oh,
person,
okay.
and in consulting, um, you get assigned to projects based on what you have done in the
Hmm.
past, and your experience and your performance, and it is very important for people to do the right thing in the right jobs. But in my career, I learned that was not enough. It was not enough to do a great job in each assignment, but you actually had to actually look for the best jobs for you,
Hmm.
and ask for those, and raise your hand and say, hey, I might not have the 100% of the skills that I need in order to do
Hmm.
this project in a very meaningful way for the client, but I'm willing to take the challenge. And that requires talking to people, talking to your peers, talking to your leaders, and actually asking for the opportunity. So I learned that through my career. I had to do it in order to be successful, and not only do the right not only do the job in the right way, but also um, dare and be confident to assume new challenges in each assignment. And that's pretty much of what I developed it through my career. So it was not natural in me at the beginning, but I understood that I had to do it in order to be successful.
It was an active process. I see. All
Mhm.
right. Well, thank you for sharing that, Beatrice. So, let's talk a bit about on the flip side of all things. While you felt supported at very critical times in your career and you yourself really worked on supporting others throughout theirs, do you believe companies still need to do more on this topic? And if so, what areas do you think they could improve on, or what ways they could do so?
Sure, and I believe that companies have done
Mhm.
a lot of evolution, have evolved a lot in this
Mhm.
area during maybe the last decade, but there's still so much to do out there. And I believe companies need to work on different areas. The first one is to be aware of the unconscious biases that we all have,
Mhm.
as people and as leaders in companies. So
Mhm.
creating programs that actually make us aware of those unconscious biases and do something about it. That's one of the key things that I think that companies need to do. Second is establish programs that actually, work on the KPIs that we actually need to improve. It's not only about talking about
Mm-hmm.
diversity, it's actually doing something about it, and ensuring that we are evolving in this sense, and that we have specific programs that delve into those KPIs that we need to improve. For example, the
Mm-hmm.
wage equalization between men and women, and the third thing that I think companies need to do a lot more is leaders should walk the talk. Again, it's not only about talking about this and not only declaring that we are diverse, but it's also about doing things about that, and making sure that leaders, their behaviors are an example for the rest of the company, to uh,
Mm-hmm.
to repeat, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I think there's a lot of, even though companies have come a long way, and that's something to give credit for, I think at some point it almost plateaus a bit in the talking the talk, but not walking the talk and not implementing what is being discussed. It's a very interesting point. So on that note, do you have other specific programs in mind that you saw or you witnessed, um, that either worked very well or on the other hand were much less effective?
Sure, and I think for example in EY we do have a
Mhm.
strategy around diversity, and ensuring that we provide a very diverse environment for people to develop themselves. It's called Women Fast Forward,
Oh.
and that strategy is very well thought because it also has specific programs that work, for example, on women entrepreneurs, on the next generation of women, and women leadership. And there are not only the strategy but also the tactics and the programs that actually work to make that strategy a reality. And um, and I think that there are, in the technology space again,
Mhm.
deepening our the conversation on
Absolutely.
what my role is. There's many things that companies have done, for example, to motivate women to build skills in technology. And
Mhm.
I know a program, for example, in my region that is very good because it builds those skills on young women in
Mhm.
vulnerable communities, and that's a very nice project. Uh, but we also found that we create those skills in those vulnerable women, but if we don't have a complement to that initiative that ensures that those women will then be hired by companies, where they can actually apply those skills,
Mhm.
then only part of the solution is out there. So we need to ensure that not only we do build the skills, but we connect those skills with the demand of the company, so we ensure that those women are actually hired after this. So I think there's many programs out there that are very good. Also, I think that one of them that is very effective is when we involve men as allies
Okay.
in making this happen. In getting that balance of work at home and with the kids, and having that balance of men as allies of this program. I think those are very effective.
Particularly, especially in environments like the tech environment where it is so male dominated. And I really like that you said that. I feel, at least on my own, more I hear about women in technology, the conversation is always very focused on motivating women to study technology and to have those skill set, and not as much as why wouldn't they be motivated? Is there perhaps the environment afterwards, or even if they are motivated, can they flourish in? And that's when bringing men as allies can be very crucial. So that's it's very. I haven't heard a lot of programs that focus on women in tech that really see the big picture of that. So that's definitely well rounded. So thank you for sharing that, Beatrice. And before we wrap up, is there anything else you'd like to mention about before we go to the next step about perhaps women in tech or any other programs?
No, I think my
Mm-hmm.
advice, my main advice to women
To women.
would be around both in tech and outside of tech.
Mm-hmm.
Would be, first understand that the future is out there for you, and everything is possible. Everything is possible. Second thing that I would share as an advice is,
Mm-hmm.
raise your hand.
Yeah.
Again, raise your
Mm-hmm.
hand, ask for help. I believe that asking for help is a sign of strength.
Mm-hmm.
Being out there and being confident enough to ask for the right support at the right time. I think that is important. Look for a mentor, a
Okay.
mentor, someone that you admire, that and it doesn't have to be a woman. It can be a
Mm-hmm.
woman, but it also can be a man. But it will be important in your life because there will be tough times during your career, and having a mentor that really understands you, that really knows you, and that can support you with that, it is very, very important. And fourth, again, understand that we can be vulnerable. We don't have to be perfect at everything. There will be points in our life where we will need to prioritize based
Mm-hmm.
on our specific circumstances, at every point in our lives. And it is okay to be vulnerable. We don't have to be perfect. That's four things that I can say for all of you out there that are listening, and that are part of my key lessons learned through my professional life and personal life.
Great. On those points, being vulnerable and asking for help, that's really been a recurring theme in both the way you've evolved your career and the advice that you've given women right here, right now, or in your coach or in your coaching sessions, or men as well. For people who are still struggling on asking for help, do you and raising your hand when something's not working out, and the fact that you've done it so successfully, for example, that time when you were away from your daughter, do you believe there's an art or a way to ask for help?
I I believe that we have to do this in a very empathetic way, because
Mm,
if we're asking for help, we might um, go to the person with the problem, right?
mhm,
And if we go to our leader with a problem, we might find him or her, in a not so very good time, and maybe
mm,
she or he would not receive this in the right way. I have learned that if we do this empathetically and we put
mhm,
ourselves in our leaders' shoes, and try not only to bring the problem but also to propose a solution.
mhm,
I think that is at least in my case. I don't know if it's magic, but it has helped me, putting myself in my supervisors, my leaders role, trying to understand their position, and trying to be very open and very transparent in my personal situation, and also bringing a potential solution to the table. That has worked for me, I'm pretty sure that it will work for everyone.
okay, absolutely. Even you said, I love that you said a potential, because it doesn't have to be necessarily the final solution, but you're opening
That's,
up the discussion to brainstorm with your manager to find a solution together. All
that's
right.
right.
And just on one other point that you had mentioned about finding a mentor, what are some ways that you had reached? You mentioned that you had a mentor at the beginning of throughout your career. What are ways that you had reached out to a mentor? Was it through programs? Was it personally?
I have done this in a couple of ways, Anna.
Mhm.
One of them, most of companies today have formal mentoring
Mhm.
programs. So that is, the easy way in quotes, right? But
Mhm.
I would suggest to do this also in a very informal way.
Mhm.
Trying to find people that you relate to, that you understand that there's a connection there, because
Mhm.
sometimes the formal mentors programs that companies have, they assign someone to you, and that assignment might
Everything.
not be the perfect the right fit of personalities. And
Mhm.
I would definitely suggest trying to find someone that you look up to, that is a role model, that you think that can help you, and try to get close to that person, and trying to I'm pretty sure that most people out there are willing to help, to share their lessons. So again, raising your hand and being and daring to ask for help.
All right, Beatrice, thank you. These were all so interesting, very touching examples, and very interesting programs that you had discussed or different things you had witnessed. So, and great advice. So, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day with all these insightful answers. Just before we end this and we wrap it up, is there anything else you'd like to finish with or end with?
Sure. And Anna, first thing that I would like to say is thank you. Thank you to
Oh,
Hayes
our
for
pleasure.
inviting me for this initiative. I also believe that Hayes doing this and getting our voices out there
Hmm.
is very important for women to understand that we're not alone, and there are a lot of success stories that we can learn from. And I
Hmm.
believe that these type of initiatives is very important. I also believe that Hayes and companies as Hayes that work in the professional services area also have a strong responsibility and accountabilities to make this the corporate world a more diverse one. So I think that I congratulate Hayes for doing this, and thank you, Anna,
Oh,
for
thank you.
your kind questions and the opportunity. And to all the women out there, trust yourself and be yourself. That's my best advice out there.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Beatrice. It was such a pleasure. I hope to chat again sometime soon. Thank you for your kind words, for all the women and the kind words towards Hayes. It's true. There's a lot of responsibility of professional services, just like every other company and every other industry. We all have our own share. So thank you so much, and hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and you can
Thank
celebrate with
you.
your family and for your daughter.
Thank
Well
you,
deserved.
Anna.
Hard work. That's very hard
Yeah,
work.
a lot of hard work. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you
All
very
right.
much. You have a nice day, you too. Bye
Have a
bye.
good day. Bye bye.